What's going on, Internet? And welcome to another ARFCOM
Reviews.
Oh, that was nice. That was. So I am Josh with AR15.com. I'm joined here by Paul with the sunglasses.
Paul from Only Cops.
He's
Stop resisting.
And this is Taylor, our camera jockey, and the guy that's here to keep us based. And we are here to go and review the OZ9 from Triarc, or Triarc's take on the OZ9. But before we get into our review, let's give a thank you to our sponsors. Today's video is sponsored by TNVC.com, the #1 source for your seeing stuff needs.
And by Springfield Armory. Check out their new 9mm Echelon pistol. It features a new variable interface system for mounting multiple optic footprints and a serialized COG fire control group that easily swaps between different grip modules. Learn more at springfield-armory.com.
So the OZ9 from Triarc is a new iteration on the Glock. Basically, this is like the final form, the Super Saiyan 15.
This is level 9,000 perfection.
Yeah, so
it's over 9,000.
I think they take a lot of the things where the more polymer version of this. And like your standard OEM parts maybe might fall short for people that shoot way better than I do, or that have way more at risk or more likely to get into use of forces, even whether it's like competition shooters or whatever. This was their take on that. Triarc, it's an expensive boy.
Yeah,
it is just to start off right off the gate. MSRP is $18.99.
Glock Perfection ain't cheap.
So the ZevTech OZ9, right, is already starting off with, you can go take that thing and then add a bunch of stuff to it. Part of that's going to be hand fitting, part of that's going to be parts. But really, where you're first starting off with this is that they take the grip module portion of it and they hand stipple it. And it is, I'm not a huge stippling snob, but I liked it. It's probably, I think I described it as a like sponge that they flash dried, and so it's abrasive without being sharp, and it's like soft. It doesn't feel like a hard. The polymer feels very rigid, but it doesn't feel like a hard edge.
It looks worse than it actually is. Like when I saw it originally, I thought like, okay,
well, it's gonna take off half my hand.
Yes, but it doesn't.
But it did make a difference. We shot it outside in August in Texas, so it was really hot when we shot it, and I didn't really have any issues with gripping it. We can talk about some of the ergos as we get down the road. But I actually really liked, I thought the stippling is a win, and look at stipple jobs and what stipple jobs will cost on the back end. And you're already kind of pushing the price tag up. The next really big thing that they really put that's specific to this version of it is the 2.0 track barrel that they put in there. Triarc's already known. I think they put their track barrels in their ARs and in the AR builds. And I don't know if there's a 1.0 or where that was at, but this is the 2.0 version of it. And the claim here is that it is a more mechanically accurate, or the rifling's different. You can already see when you look at, if you go and eyeball the front of your gun, there is a crown on it, and there is a little shelf to protect that crown. And then if you want to go into, I'm a bit of an idiot, but there's a steel frame inside of this thing.
Yes. So if you imagine a Glock has two pieces normally, in this one there's a mystery third piece in the middle. So you got your slide, a mystery third piece, plastic bits.
It is like literally this whole chunk there. Everything from the rear rails to the front rails is all in it. Where the trigger sits into the frame, all of that stuff, that is all a big piece of steel. I don't want to compare it to the chassis systems you get in SIGs, or we just dealt with the Echelon, because it's like...
But it's the most fair comparison. Yeah. It's not exactly the same, but...
Similar.
Dip that in a big piece of metal. It's a lot more like a 2011 has the rails, and then you have a grip module attached that's much closer to that, where your rails all the way across are that, including the pick rail that they have underneath it. It's just one big chunky, and you feel it in the weight. This is heavier, decent amount heavier than a standard Glock, because you got a lot more steel on it. But it did increase the, I think it's the surface area. Even the rails are bigger.
Yep. Yeah, you've got double the amount of contact. So thinking about that mechanically, right? There's just more room for it to mate up and less room for it to be sloppy.
Yeah, and you can look at Glock. There's this really cool YouTube video.
It just
where
won't stop moving. I swear.
I'm
moving it with my mind.
Yeah. If you look at a Glock that shoots under like a high-speed camera, you can see a lot of the flex that happens, and most of the flex is in that nose front part of the gun, which is holding your rails. So you got to imagine if the frame's moving, your rails are moving, which means that your slide is moving, which means your barrel's moving. And all the way through until that bullet's leaving the barrel, that's going to have some appreciable effect on your ability to be accurate. And also, like, when the slide comes back forward, you might not have the exact same lockup. You see that with a lot with the blowback designs, that you're less likely to have any semi-auto gun, a similar lockup, and this probably helps with that, given that there's way less room for it to flex in the frame. So I could see that, again, going back to the accuracy portion of it. Who makes this trigger?
So it's going to be a McNally trigger. Don't quote me on the general applicability to put that into other Glocks aftermarket wise, but inside of this one, it's a McNally trigger. It's a Springfield guide rod, so it's got an improved trigger, improved guide rod, improved frame rails. Essentially, every bit of this pistol has something. It is a Glock plus.
Yeah. The trigger, I think of all the things, the grip texture is obviously the first thing when you pick up a gun you're going to kind of feel. Even the slide serrations, they have these really cool, like, exaggerated slide serrations that get more aggressive as you get to the top of the frame. Which is kind of cool. I'm sure we'll insert some cool B-roll of that. But the trigger was the first thing that, like, the gun felt more expensive to me.
Yeah,
the second
definitely.
I squeezed the trigger.
Yeah, feeling that slide, hearing the noise on the slide and how smooth it was, and then the trigger.
It's like, I think it was like 4.4 pounds.
Yeah.
But, like, normally with striker-fired guns, to get a lighter feeling trigger, it becomes very undefined. And really you're lowering, the friction coefficient on the sear. You're polishing or whatever. I don't know
polishing the sear, changing the springs, changing the connector.
Yeah, secret sauce is in this to make it, but it is a light trigger while being incredibly well defined. It's what makes hammer-fired guns so touted for triggers, is that it is light without being mushy. I don't know how it works. Somebody in the comment section be like, "Oh, of course, you idiot! It does this." Please educate me and enlighten me, because I'd like to know.
Engineers.
But it was probably the most drastic difference outside of some of the steel aspects of it that I felt from this from a different. And I've dealt with semi-custom to custom Glocks before. It's nicer than any amount of a trigger job I've tried to do myself.
Oh, dude, I own a Shadow Systems and I love it. And comparing this to that, obviously there's a price difference, but there's a lot of feature difference too. And when you get into, hey, we're building a hybrid Glock, I don't think it's unreasonable to say that they did a lot of extra work, and naturally the price goes up on things.
Some of the other things that are kind of unique to this, as opposed to what you have when you're getting like a ZevTech one, is they actually laser etch. It was kind of neat. I was trying to figure out what it was, and I realized they laser etch a relief cut inside of the slide where the barrel actually rubs on the inside part of the slide, and it gave it that kind of glassy, smooth racking action. And again, that probably leads to easier lockup, more consistent lockup, things of that nature. It was just cool. Where it's important, and if these things are important to you, that's why you're getting this gun. I can see that there's definitely, and I'm kind of, I'm running iron sights on a Gen 4 Glock. Like, most of this stuff I appreciate, but wouldn't be like a make or break deal for me if the gun doesn't have it. But I think where you're like, I want my slide cut for an acro. I want the stipple job right out of the gate. I'm trying to get the difference in between an A-zone and a liner, right?
Well, I mean, it's also just one of those things where how many things do I want to upgrade on the Glock that I just bought?
Sure.
For example, my Gen 5 Glock that you shot at the range has been just sitting in a safe.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to spend $400 to get it cut. I'm not going to buy... Getting another slide, replacing it all adds up, right? So you're doing a slide, you're doing a stipple job, you're doing cuts, you're doing
and it's Gen 5, so it's a lot less likely that you're going to be able to get those parts easily.
Exactly. So if you added up all of those upgrades, fiber optic sights, all of this stuff, like you're going to get close to that number, to be honest. And what if there's a issue fitting one thing to another? All the things that you're changing, where this is all coming out of. Off the production line there.
Somebody at least has to QC this before it comes out, right?
Exactly.
And I think it gives credence to a lot of these people doing aftermarket Glock clones, basically, where they're saying, hey, I can upgrade this, or I can take these parts from somebody. This isn't just like a simple Triarc swap for all parts. Like, this is hand fitting. They're getting parts to fit that normally wouldn't, and they're making adjustments to that. So, like, for that and for the expertise, I kind of get it. If you look at bolt guns, it's a great example of doing bedding or chassis fitting, and then getting the barrel in there. Like, there's
mating things.
You're paying somebody to make sure your head spacing is right, so you don't blow up a 338 Lapua on your face or whatever. Like, it's this kind of stuff matters. This is less of a safety thing and more of what it is like there's tolerances. You have stacking tolerances and all that. So I got it more the more I shot it. And then we did drills with this thing, and y'all smoked me. I got like annihilated on this, but y'all did actually really. It was cool to see with no prep work. Like we didn't do test shots. We said we just set up a drill and we're just gonna run it.
Got like 2 practice draws. That was it.
Yeah.
And the grip angle's a little different than a Glock. I'm a Glock person. Like I said, I carry an OEM Glock.
That's the one big thing to me initially was like coming out. I'm doing my thumbs down thing. Like, wait a second, I'm not exactly where I
Maybe
normally
that's why
would
I
be.
didn't have an issue with it.
So yeah, but like right out of the gate, like y'all smoked me on that. But we were doing fast. We're trying to shoot it as fast as we can, and whether part of that's a competency thing, and then again, even with zeroing it, if my marksmanship fundamentals are there and crushing it, I'm going to do better. It's a harder thing to appreciate on a handgun, but if your skill set is there, I could totally see where a lot of those things start to make a difference. It's where red dots matter. Dudes that are running comps and stuff like that on handguns, it starts to matter. I think who wants this gun is probably like TAC teams or people that have a high likelihood of getting into a use of force where it's like, hey, maybe I am trying to take, a headshot or whatever. Now iron sights start to make a little bit less sense. Getting the red dot. Yeah. I'm in low light situations. I'm running night vision. I'm doing like this gun starts making a lot more sense when you're in that situation, or especially in law enforcement circles, this might be your primary.
Yeah.
This is the only thing I got to go do something. I'd rather have something that's designed to kind of be squared away and give me the best chance of having mechanical accuracy, right? If I can afford it.
And this compared to a 2011, personally, as a Glock person, I would happily lean towards this thing.
Same.
Yeah. So it's definitely, and I'll be the first to admit, this is likely out of my price range, let's be honest. But
that's the thing, though, right? There's a lot more Honda Civics on the road than there 100%. Are Ferraris or whatnot. But if you want to just buy all of those things combined in QC'd in one location.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd be interested to see the longevity of it. This is a relatively new platform. I'd be curious to see what the feedback is when it actually goes out there and people start using it. Competition guys, especially. They're going to be the ones that tell you whether this is I
don't
don't
know if it qualifies for USPSA, isn't it? Well,
As
no, it should. It should. As long as there's 500,
500
500 guns, it should. But I don't know how often they update that.
So, yeah, I'd be interested to see and how many people end up running one of these. Again, in the competition world, that's actually a pretty reasonably priced pistol. Yeah. It's just whether or not it'll step up to that in performance. So, it was cool. I enjoyed getting to shoot it. I'm lucky, and that's what I get paid to go do. But how do people make sure that I don't lose my job?
Well, they can support our sponsors. That'd be crazy, right? Support the folks that support us.
Sure.
You can find us on social at ar15.com. And you can check us out on Discord if you want to come at me or Roberto or whoever. Yeah. Currently, we're getting Discord set up, doing limited invites and waves. So if you're not in yet, don't fret. We'll get you in there at some point. We're just not ready to unleash the pure power of the internet and fully operational battle station.
So, and if you guys like what you're seeing, go ahead and let us know. If you don't like what you're seeing, also go let us know. I'll tell you why you're wrong. But we do value the feedback. I'm likely the person responding to you in the comments, so you'll be getting to talk to me and talk trash directly to my face.
Oh my God, Josh, from the Cubs. He's like a big deal.
We do appreciate the feedback. I really do. We'd like to make the show for an audience that wants to go see it. And until then, I really appreciate it. And you guys stay safe and be dangerous.
Andrew loves you. Stay strapped, good clap.
Do you think they'll notice if we just send back my Gen 5 Glock and